This is the plaintiff, Colleen Holloway. She says she rented an apartment from the defendant, but soon discovered the building was a haven for pot smokers and decided to move out and notified the defendant. The defendant then entered her apartment when she wasn't there, and when she returned, she discovered someone had gone through her underwear drawer. She felt completely violated, got out of there immediately, and now the creepy defendant won't return her security, so she's suing for the $1,100 she's owed. This is the defendant, Scott. He says there was a terrible odor coming from within the plaintiff's apartment, and as a landlord, he had every right to enter. The plaintiff had rotten garbage infested with ants, and when he called to tell her, she started crying and yelled at him for being in the apartment. Bottom line, the plaintiff destroyed the carpet, left a bunch of garbage to rot, and he has every right to keep her security so he can deal with all the problems she left behind. He's accused of breaking and entering. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $131.80 for additional repairs.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Colleen Holloway, you are suing Scott. You've asked us not to mention your last name, and we respect that. Your former landlord for $1,100, a refund of a $550 security deposit that you say he is wrongfully withholding. So you're suing for double under your statute in Connecticut. You have a counterclaim against her for $131.80 that you say is the overage. Even at keeping the $550, according to you, she did more than that in damage and needs to pay you. Talk to me. What happened?
Yes, I responded to an ad I received from my mother for the apartment he had advertised as newly remodeled for $550 a month in Oakville. Myself, my mother, and my boyfriend are the two witnesses. Went to see the apartment on June 8th, and there, right off the bat, I had noticed the carpet was damaged, but otherwise anything I couldn't recognize because the power was off, so there's no light in the apartment.
Did you see it during the daytime?
Yes, there was one window in the kitchen, so I was able to notice the carpet damage.
Okay.
But otherwise, the apartment, it was a cute apartment, and I was interested in it.
Did you note anywhere the carpet damage? Did you?
Yes, I took pictures before I moved in, and that day, June 8th, I wrote him a check for the security deposit to hold the apartment for me. I have the check stub here.
I don't need to see that. Go on.
Yes.
So then you lived there for how long?
The rental agreement started on June 15th, and I was there until August, the end of August, when I gave him my 30 days notice that I would be leaving. Due to the neighbor's behavior, it was very uncomfortable for me to live there.
Why?
There was a constant odor of marijuana that was so strong it would go under my door and into my apartment.
Do you know who she's talking about?
Yes, right.
Okay. Have you gotten complaints about that before?
No.
All right. So go. You know who she's talking about because she told you who she was talking about? Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yes.
Well, you're in a month-to-month anyway, so the notice is not an issue in this case, right? She gave appropriate notice.
Yes.
The problem is that according to you, you're keeping her security deposit because of damages.
Yes.
Correct? All right. Let me hear from you. What are the damages that you say are the reason that you're keeping the security deposit?
Well, she left a whole pile of garbage on the kitchen floor for 2.5 weeks.
How do you know how long she left a pile of garbage on the kitchen floor?
Well, she had the power turned off September 12th.
What was you had paid through the end of September, right?
Yes, September 30th.
So if you had the power turned off September 12th, then you weren't there after that.
Yes.
That's correct.
I was going back and forth. I work second shift. So after my job, I would go there, pack some things, and load my car up.
Okay. So how do you know that there was garbage on the floor?
The neighbors complained about a stench coming from the apartment. So I went in there, and there was rotted garbage all over the kitchen floor.
She just hadn't taken out the garbage?
It was piled in stuff from the refrigerator and everything. And it was a warm month. It was, and it was rotten on the floor.
No power, and it's on the floor. Did you leave garbage on the floor of the kitchen?
There was a bag of garbage in the apartment that I forgot to take out in the garbage can underneath the sink. And I believe maybe a bag of onions was on the counter, but there was no garbage on the floor.
Okay. But according to him, the neighbors were complaining about the stench.
Well, I'm not really sure. I hadn't been there in a week because I was
And there's no electricity, so the thing has to be marinating, fermenting. All right, do you go in?
I went in there. I removed the garbage. I called Colleen. There was stuff thrown everywhere. So it looked like it was ransacked. my witness,
Do you have
Jim.
pictures of it?
I don't, because I didn't think it would get this far. I just
Okay.
took the garbage out. I was very upset.
So you call her and you tell her what?
I said, Colleen, what do you plan on doing with the rest of your stuff in here? I said, there's garbage all over the kitchen floor. There's bugs on the kitchen floor.
When you say garbage all over, do you mean inside of a garbage bag, or do you mean
There was bags in there was a small garbage pail, but there was also bags of garbage,
with what inside?
carrots, potatoes, whatever was in the refrigerator.
So you call her and she says what?
I said, Colleen, you left a bunch of garbage all over the floor and on the counters. I said, what do you plan on doing here? Are you coming back for anything else? Or, and she started crying. What are you doing in my apartment? I says, well, I got a complaint of rotted garbage. I says, you have some stink coming from your apartment.
Do you have an affidavit from a neighbor talking about their complaint?
No, I didn't.
Who is the gentleman with you?
Jimmy. He works for me, the construction
Come on
company.
up, Jimmy. Did you go into the apartment?
I went in with Scotty, yeah.
Okay, how much garbage was there?
Like she said, there was onions on the counter, there was bananas in there, there was, I think, 2 paper bags on the floor, wet on the bottom. The bags are wet themselves.
Right. All right, so he calls you and you got kind of upset.
I was very upset because I received a phone call from his number saying that they were in my apartment and asking me if I wanted the rest of my stuff. And I couldn't believe they were in there. I had never received any contact from him asking me if I
Why
had
didn't you
left.
call her before you walked in?
Well, I haven't seen her. I didn't know. I
I know, but you knew how to call her. You had her number. Why
No, I
couldn't you
know. I
just
did.
call her and say, "Hey, people are complaining. Are you dead in there? I'd like to. I'm coming in to figure out what the smell is." Why didn't you do that?
Well, I figured she vacated the apartment because she is not.
Why
staying there.
didn't you call her to make sure? Because you knew you had collected rent for the entire month of September, correct?
Correct. I just opened
Yes
the door.
or no?
Yes.
Okay. So why didn't you call her and just give her notice that you're walking in?
I don't know.
Okay. So, but why? You're gonna. How old are you?
21.
Okay, life is going to deal you much worse things than that. Don't cry over your landlord going into the property he owns.
Yes, no,
Okay?
I was just...
I mean, unless he discovered your big secret. Is there some big secret? Do you have like a marijuana lab growing there and
No.
now it costs you life in prison? You got to chill, okay?
No, yes,
All right,
I was just upset because I did have some of my jewelry still there. My clothes were still there.
Is any of it missing?
Not missing, but it was rummaged through. I found
Your clothes was rummaged through?
Someone had put contents of my nightstand into my underwear drawer on top of my underwear. And to know that someone had been inside of my underwear drawer, it was completely...
Who was playing with the girl's underwear?
Nobody was. We went into the kitchen.
She says that somebody took the jewelry from one. Is the furniture yours?
The kitchen table was mine. The
But
bureau
what
was
about the
mine.
bedroom furniture?
The bedroom, that's mine.
That's
Everything
yours.
was everything
so
that was
who
in
was
there was
emptying
mine.
out the nightstand and putting it all into one drawer?
Nobody did that.
I have
All right, so
pictures.
all right, okay.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So if a landlord smells this stench coming out of a tenant's unit, who knows what it is? Can the landlord go in and without asking the tenant?
I think so, if it's affecting the rest of the apartment complex. Yeah.
And the other tenants say it is. Can the landlord go in?
Yes, for sure.
Can just walk in the apartment, breeze in.
Let them know they are going to walk in. If they are not there, they can walk in.
You agree with that?
Well, you should check to see if somebody died. I mean, you don't know if something's going on.
Yeah, right. Because I'm not sure whether it's sausage or a human being. Ooh. Going inside the courtroom.
So now, in any event, why are you keeping this girl's security deposit?
Well, I had to have the carpets cleaned. Some of the holes on the wall.
Do you have pictures?
I don't because
So how are you going to prove that you have a right to keep a security deposit to cover damages that you have no pictures of? Okay.
I got a picture of the carpet,
May I see that?
the renovation company, and there's another one here that
Are those estimates?
yes.
Okay.
I got a picture. I got the police report too. I don't know if you need that.
Police report for what?
Well, from when she called the police on me.
For what? For going into the apartment?
Yes.
Did you call the police?
I did.
For your landlord going into your apartment?
Yes, just without any contact. And after I'd been in the apartment and noticed things were moved around and touched,
Did you take pictures of that?
I did.
May I see them?
Yes.
Tear out badly stained carpet in kitchen area. There's a carpet in the kitchen?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's some tile where the appliances are, but there's carpet. It's like an efficiency.
Okay, install laminate floor in kitchen area. Did you have a laminate floor in the kitchen
No, I
area?
got
before?
carpet, but I put a
Well, I
different
know, but you
floor in.
can't upgrade on her nickel. That's not what security's for. This is where stained garbage was piled.
Well, that's when she left.
Right. Do you have pictures of the carpet with the damage that you said that you took a picture when you moved in?
Yes.
Can I see that?
That was before I moved in, those pictures.
What happened here?
I just took pictures of things that were actually moved.
Someone took the stuff that was,
Yes.
what's that a picture of?
That's a picture of an earring in the kitchen area that had been with my jewelry in the bedroom area.
Did you send him the pictures of the damaged carpet, or you just took the pictures for your own posterity?
I took them for myself, but I was required to send him a packet of my evidence when I filed.
Yeah, did you get these pictures too that she took in June before moving in? That
I got them all.
So
The carpet had a little stain in it.
Is that
No.
the carpet that you want to make her pay for?
That is not what the carpet looked like. I don't know what's wrong with her camera in that picture, but it didn't look that bad.
I mean, that would be the motivation to take the pictures to document damage in the apartment she doesn't want to get blamed for. That's good. You're halfway there from now on. Anytime you rent an apartment and you take those pictures, email them to your landlord and keep a copy of the email so that you can show that you put the other person on notice that not to play any games with your security deposit. And that would be the same for the landlord. The landlord should be taking pictures because you've got a case to prove. And if you don't prove it, you got big problems. And you may have big problems anyway. Did you ever send a notice to her within 30 days of what it is that you were keeping the security deposit for?
No.
Your state requires that you do that.
I've never had this problem before.
Okay, everybody's going to leave here educated. I'm going to make sure you have a copy of the statute before
Okay.
you leave, because if you're a landlord, you should know that.
Okay.
It's just a couple of pages, and so it's good bathroom reading. Read it, know it, highlight it, dog ear it, get to know it, so that way you know, because there's a bunch of pitfalls that you don't want to fall into. And the pitfall for you is, as in many states, that when you keep the money, that I can't find that you can't prove damages that will entitle you to keep her money. Let's just start with that from just the base perspective. But B, you didn't even do what you're supposed to do, which is send her an itemized list. Okay, you're now in trouble because your state, your legislators in your state, like many states, have a policy that they want to keep unscrupulous landlords from trying to take advantage of a tenant, and so they spank you and order you not only to return the security deposit, but double the security deposit. That's the punishment. Therefore, based on what I've heard on the plaintiff's claim against the defendant, I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of the $1,100. And on the counterclaim that you have against her, since you're completely devoid of any proof of damages, I find in her favor. That's my judgment. Good luck, folks.
Okay.
Well, the landlord has probably learned something about the law in his state right now. What do you think of this outcome here?
Well, I'm not happy with it, but whatever.
Whatever. What about the law? What'd you learn?
Well, I'll have to study up on it a little better, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You're required to provide a tenant with a letter with an itemized list in order to keep the security, right?
Yeah, well, she should clean up a little after the garbage and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's her responsibility. We're talking about yours.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. All right, right down this way.
All right.
All right, so the tenant side of things, you satisfied
I am very.
how this comes out?
I'm very satisfied. It's been a rough road dealing with this, and I'm happy it's settled and over with now.
Is it the situation or is it dealing with these
The situation,
individuals?
yes, the gall. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, how humiliating was that one moment you described in there when you thought they were going through your private things?
I was sickened at the thought. It was horrible.
You think they did?
I'm not sure who did,
Yeah.
since there was other people in the apartment besides him. So I'm
okay.
not sure who it was, but regardless, it
All right.
was not a good
Okay.
experience.
Harvey.
Well, here's the thing. Almost every state has the same law, which is that a landlord can only enter an apartment without giving prior notice if it's an absolute emergency. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.